Good afternoon, my friends. My name is Michael C. Welcome to 12-Step Spirituality Live with myself and my good friend and teacher and sponsor, Mr. Adam G. I'm going to wait just a moment to make sure that we're live, and then I'm going to go and get Adam, and we can engage in this conversation that we have been looking very forward to bringing to you. So you see me just kind of navigating a couple of iPhones right now just to make sure that I can see that we're in. And it looks like we are. Yes, indeed. All right. Again, welcome. I'm going to go in my green room, bring Adam G., and we'll go to work. There you are, Adam. We are now on the 12-Step Spirituality Facebook page, and we're in Zoom, so it's good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for all your technical expertise. I've really been looking forward to this. You and I we're better when we feed off of each other. So my hope this go round is, rather than me doing a talk, this will be more of a conversation between us.
Oh yes, indeed. Well, in the name of being totally transparent, we want the world to know that this conversation today and God willing, the conversations that are coming up were inspired because of an interview that we engaged in. I was looking, it says 2 years ago, so, time flies. And that was an extraordinary conversation. It now lives on the 12-Step Spirituality page. A few weeks ago, we see each other all the time on Zoom in different communities, and the idea that we might come together and converse and have an inquiry or an inquisitive, collaborative conversation about this. And so this is how it came to pass.
It is indeed, and so you and I started talking about taking the next step.
Yes. Which is this. It's living in the pause, and I just love. First of all, I love living in the pause, and there, the few thousand people that have watched the video, wherever I'm going, whether it's on the internet or in real time meetings in the community, I'll have peers go, "Oh, I watched that interview. It was really, do more of that." And I think that's, there was,
Right.
God was saying, go ahead. So I remember you and I being on the porch, and we were kind of trading back and forth little slogans that relate to living in the pause and holding space for powerlessness, and step one, which is, all of this is. And you said something to me that just kind of hit me right in my soul, and I said, whatever we do, we have to get started with that. So go ahead and get us started with that very simple but profound little slogan that you hang out with.
Sure. So sometimes, Michael, I think the whole point of this life, of why I'm going through this life, is coming to a deeper understanding and acceptance of powerlessness. And this is how I defined it to you that day. I have a problem, and I can't fix it myself. Truthfully, rarely am I faced with a problem and I leap to the conclusion, I need to embrace my personal powerlessness here. No, I go into, I need to solve this mode, which tends to make matters worse because I'm relying on myself to fix a problem that I'm incapable of fixing. And that's my definition of unmanageability, relying on myself to solve a problem that I'm incapable of fixing. A few days ago, since we talked, I received a letter from a family member, and they want me to do something, and I don't want to do it. I mean, I really don't want to do it, Michael, but that's it. And so for about 48 hours, I could not stop thinking about it. First of all, why is this happening to me? How am I going to respond? How am I going to solve this crisis of someone feeling disappointment in me? How am I going to put that person in their place, right? So what I really needed to do was I had to come to see what I've come to see as the hardest thing to do, and that's nothing. Spend a little time in the discomfort of accepting powerlessness and bringing that awareness, sharing that awareness with trusted friends like you in the program. Back in the day, I would have fired right back, which would have led to all kinds of unmanageability and several rounds of amends. So last week, when I described my experience of step one this way, powerlessness is I have a problem and I can't fix it myself. Unmanageability is I make the problem worse by relying on myself to fix the problem. And Michael, when I shared that, it sparked something really interesting in you too.
Oh yeah, I mean, you paraphrased the first step beautifully. That because it's about I am powerless, right? Hyphen, my life or our life has become unmanageable. So powerlessness is I've got this problem called people, places, and things, and it's so beyond me I can't fix it. But because I haven't woke up yet, I haven't. I don't. You can't see until you can see. I make the problem worse because I continue to engage in something that is not working. I put something more energy into a process that has long since stopped working, only to see it not work faster. So it was extraordinary what you said, and then that triggered in me and it's become a prayer over the years that Thomas Keating, rest his soul, just a wonderful man, said that really complemented this conversation is powerlessness is the greatest power. I'm going to personalize this. I have, or you have, or we have, because acceptance of it, surrendering to it, opens us up to accessing and being a channel to a power that's greater than ourselves. And that honors 12-step spirituality. It honors the literature. It honors what we're asked to study and embrace when we come into this consciousness. So
yes, in fact, Keating says, the actual quote is, powerlessness is our greatest treasure. And he says we shouldn't be in a hurry to get rid of it. It's too valuable in the hands of our higher power in the process of our healing and transformation. So don't get rid of your powerlessness. I told some of this story last time we were together. I was decades into sobriety, and I'm busy trying to get rid of my powerlessness. Or at least trying to distract myself from it, right? So my outsides are looking good. I'm married, 2 kids, have a job, which I like most days. I'm sponsored. I sponsor a lot of guys, home group, regular attendance at meetings, super involved in service. And definitely a lot of external problems have seemingly been solved, but I am nagged by internal problems, fear, feelings of unworthiness, of not measuring up, of not being enough. And with my wife in particular, I have disproportionately shame-filled and over-the-top angry responses to petty disagreements. I usually refer to the dishwasher, fight that I've had, and a lot of heads nod. So then, this is in the course of a few weeks, and this is decades in. I'm 22 years in. I hear 2 speakers with 40+ years of sobriety say their one regret is how they neglected the 11th step. I'm 22 years in, and I'm not meditating, Michael. So as Thomas Keating said, the real spiritual journey depends on our acknowledging the manageability of our lives. And I needed to surrender to that. I needed to admit I have these emotional problems, and my efforts to fix them had resulted in more profound unmanageability. So once I surrendered, I was actually able to try this new essential behavior, 11-step meditation. And having started that, I realized I have a source of power that was not me, but it was within me, it was around me, it was beside me, it was as close as breathing, and it could solve my Adam problem, a problem that existed before I ever took my first drink.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said. What came up was one of the first prayers I found coming in the spiritual experience in the essay in the back of the literature that said, our members have tapped into, the unsuspected inner resource that they identify as, I'm getting goosebumps now, a power greater than themselves. And the idea that there could be something in me that was sacred, that was divine, that was, diametrically opposite of what got me in. And then, find an idea of God and adopt it, embrace it, blow the sides off of your God box and begin to develop an understanding of that. And it's like, when I read that, it was like, I just found the idea and I embraced it and been hanging out with it for a long time now. So that gives me the OMG aha, the oh my God aha. That the good news is that everything I need, just because I'm powerless, does not mean I'm without power.
Yes.
Right? There's something in me that's greater than me. It's been waiting on me to wake up to its presence so it could begin to work for me by coming through me. Now that I'm awake to it, all I have to do, and it's a big all, is surrender and accept and really not tap it as much as allow it to tap me. And, I've been spending every day since, okay, I want to understand how to do that, because a lot of times I get hoodwinked. I think I'm doing it, and, my ego has just kind of come in through the back door again. So it's a beautiful thing.
But over the long arc, I can see it in you probably better than you can see it. You can see it in me better than I can see it. The people I like to hang out with at 12-Step Spirituality, I can see it in them better than they can see it. That over time, returning to embracing this powerlessness through the tools that we have, we start to see over time less and less of that restlessness, irritability, and discontent. So for me, this acceptance of my fundamental powerlessness, which I said early on, it's not my first idea. Hey, I got to really embrace this. Accepting it has turned into the source of my power.
Nice.
I have to be honest, my brain doesn't want to go there, but my saving grace has been the practices of centering prayer and welcoming prayer.
Yeah.
They give me a way to live in the pause and hold space for powerlessness.
I love it.
And I can hang in there now with these uncomfortable feelings. And it turns out when I do that, that's my entry point to steps 2 and 3.
I love it. Well, we have a few minutes left, just a few. And
right.
I when we were chatting, I said, whatever we do, let's make sure that we connect the dots between our conversation and the title of this first conversation, which is Living in the Pause and Holding Space for Powerlessness. So you want to take your final at that, I'll take mine, and then we'll end it and come back again next.
Sure. I really did not learn, in the big book, it says we pause when agitated or doubtful. This was a brand new idea. And it's a great idea, but I can't just resolve to do it and then it's going to happen. Turns out I'm pretty much wired to react out of my lizard brain and just go, start firing back. So it is these practices of centering prayer, welcoming prayer, that allow me to actually live in that pause when I'm not in the middle of things, and I get to practice it. I get to exercise that muscle. And then, especially in welcoming prayer, I start to hold space for these uncomfortable feelings that I want to distract myself from, that I want to make go away. And instead, in these practices, just hold space for them. And then I'm on my way.
I love it. When I'm listening to you, I don't know why, but this memory came up about, when you're engaging in this conversation that's kind of pushing the envelope a little bit on 12 steps, we have a lot of our friends saying, okay, so how does this connect with the literature, right? And what you just said is, on that page, that whenever we go through the day, doubtful, agitated, we pause.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. All right, that's the pause, huh? Well, yeah, and so as I reflect on, when we answer the question, how's this relate to the pause? How's this relate to holding space? And how does this relate to centering prayer? Because this is what this page and this community is about. And for me, I go back to centering prayer. What's has become the intention. I'm consenting to the presence, consenting to the awareness of God's presence and action in me. That's the honoring of centering prayer. And that presence is what I feel when I pause in that space between whether it's the last thought I had or the next thought I'm going to have, or whether I'm on the back end I am powerless over and my life has become unmanageable. Over the years, I've called that the hyphen in the center of the first step that separates. In that hyphen is the space. In the space, I take pause. In that pause, I remember again sooner to consent to the awareness of God's presence and action in me. So that's kind of sort of how I connected all of this conversation to the first step, powerlessness, and living in the pause.
I love that, Michael. Maybe we should call this living in the hyphen. I mean, because I get powerless and then immediately things go unmanageable unless I take a moment to live right there in that hyphen on that page, right? So
I love it.
I love it. We'll change it. Next week it'll say living in the hyphen. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? What's wonderful about this, you know, that I know that both of our higher powers are kind of coming through us as we speak, but it's wonderful to see centering prayer honoring the traditions of 12-step and vice versa. It's a 1 + 1 that does not equal 2. There's an exponential, and I think that's why the community now is growing, primarily because of people that have been in 12 steps and are asking the question, what's next? You know, without
Right.
abandoning what I've embraced to bring me in. So that's my story. All right, we're out of time.
I told you we talk too much.
Well, so let's give, because there's, you know, a handful of people watching now, and I'm sure there's going to be several to experience the pot, and, you know, less is more. So what are we up to next week?
Next week, we're going to turn our attention to step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I like to say came to believe that a power other than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I learned that from one of my sponsors, and that's been most helpful. So we'll turn our thoughts to that and how we're practicing that today and how centering prayer really impacts on that.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, thank you, my friend. I love you a lot. It's been a good conversation, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of days in another community, and then we'll be together probably this time, God willing, next Friday. We want to keep the conversation going.
Yes, we do. Love you, my brother.
All right, stay well.
All right, bye-bye.